So welcome to our first meetup, C4C meetup of 2023. We have Grace with us again to help guide us through. I've made a few different co-hosts, so if you see people waiting, um, let's let them in and take it away, Grace.
Cool. So the first thing I want to comment on is the group that we have and the group that we had last year, because we're planning for the next year. And this is not the cohort. I was in Lausanne. We got more people showing up in Lausanne, paying for their own hotels and stuff than we have in this room. And it doesn't work because we're talking about how we're planning the year. And so we really need to say, who are the people who need to be in this room? And that's the first thing, if we're going to plan a year. And it has to do with stewardship. Yesterday, for those of us who showed up to class, Newman, good for you, and Cole, not naming names of people who didn't. And we were talking about this stream near somebody's property that they want to clean up, and they see people that are dirtying the stream. And the person has gone to the municipality to find out, like, what's up? Why aren't you taking care of the stream? And this is the opposite of doing a beach cleanup, right? It's like there's some authority over there that is supposed to be taking care of these things. And I'm going to assert that that's how your community is treating you guys. Right? Melanie and Yoram and Newman and Nori. Like, you're going to take care of these things, and we don't owe you anything. And you're going to get the funding from Cardano and pay your own whatever you pay yourselves. And this is a very natural way that we have been brainwashed to think about our leaders. And nobody asks, it connects exactly to what we're saying. Nobody asks, what's going on with you? How are you doing? How do you actually make a living? How much time are you volunteering? You guys have 5 hours a week in here. Nobody frickin' asks. And then people don't show up for this thing right now, and then they're going to be like, how come you chose? No. I didn't, and they'll still be expecting this kind of parenting type of behavior, right? And it's completely natural, also because of our age and the way it shows up. There are these people who are taking care of it, and we have really bad upbringing around that. We just all do. It's something in society. And I teach about democracy, right? And we think we vote and they take care of us, and like, ha ha ha, it does not work that way. So that's the first thing to say. And I think that that's one of the things, like, who needs to be in this room? And so maybe let's just have an open discussion. I don't know. Who needs to be in this room for it to be effective? This wasn't the agenda, right? But who needs to be in this room for it to be effective, for us to discuss what this group is going to be about? Like, how many people are in the group? Who are the main ones that we've taken, again, I don't want to say owe something, but there's a mutual obligation, right? That we spent time together, we put in some proposals for one another, we gave you some mentoring, you gave us some mentoring. Who are the people who should be in this room in order for us to actually have a planning meeting? That was a question.
Yeah, well, you bring up a really good point, because as a leader, I don't want to make the rules. I don't want to do top down. I want to hear from the community what is being done, but maybe sometimes we don't ask the questions, or people are tired of answering forms. I put a form in the chat, this is our retrospective. And, we work online, so maybe it's async. Some people can show up at this time. Other people have to work. Other people are sleeping. We've got, different time zones. So it's not possible for everybody to be in the same room at the same time to have this discussion. So it's trying to figure out how to navigate this new system where we meet this way, sometimes in face to face, sometimes we put stuff in a form, sometimes we work on a document, we comment on a document we're working on, you know, trying to communicate different things. But it's definitely a challenge. I'm not sure that I'm doing it very well, but I'm doing the best that I know how. So who needs to be in the room, though, is the question.
Yeah. And
And
I do want to point something out about the way that you were speaking, right?
mhm,
The way that you were speaking was, it made, I'm going to call it excuses for other people's behavior. And that's not your job. And when you do that, it's another way that you reinforce this idea that
enable, yes,
Melanie's going to take care of you.
yeah,
And she's even going to make an excuse for you. Like, anybody who received money this year from you guys, donating your time and getting them the grants, and is not in this room, that's a missing. And if they can't make this time, it is their job to say, look, I'm part of the group. Can we change the time? Can we have 2 meetings? I don't have an excuse for that.
mhm,
I mean, again, it's not like an excuse, right? We all have a different level of how we feel obligated, but I'm just saying, like, that, who needs to be in the room? And then the next question would be, what will it take for them to be in the room?
mhm.
And then what kind of room does it have to be? It could be a dock, right? But who needs to be here?
So that is
Yeah,
interesting.
so it's a very.
Go
No,
ahead,
please,
Joran.
Johan, please.
All right,
No, no, please, please,
let me jump in on it some, because it's interesting. I was thinking of like, who needs to be here brings us to the mission or our objective and our goal. So if our goal is to plan the next year, then who needs to be here? I immediately thought of the just to sort of bluntly answer the question, is the are the customers. And I was like, well, and our customers, like the people who use our services, would be the people proposing in Project Catalyst. So, but those folks aren't really here yet. And do they plan? Does the customer plan the thing? So then I'm thinking, okay, well, it's just the people, in our leadership roles, or the people that were here and want to contribute, or are interested in these topics. But then it sort of got down to sort of like, well, what is the commitment? What is the what is the expectation, and the commitment and expectation of how to participate, and being clear about that. And it's just like, okay, are meetings mandatory? Are they, like that type of stuff? Anyway, those are some thoughts on that question of who needs to be here.
Yeah, I'd love to hear from some people who aren't in the leadership group. Like, what brought you here? What was interesting, and maybe also what have you gotten out of the last year, so that we get an idea of who's in the room. I have no idea who you people are. Like, how many of you have actually submitted projects? Out of you, how many of you, like, and how you feel about that. Kind of like, there's a leadership group that puts these meetings together, and it seems important. It doesn't seem important. I'd love to hear from the people in the room, so we get both the leaders and the participants speaking about this relationship between you guys.
I can quickly hop in. So yeah, I guess like about a year ago, Melanie reached out to me and kind of told me about her idea for C4C, and I was really interested because I started Sustainable Ada, and we have a really similar vision and mission. And in the last like 6 months, I've been a lot more, I'd say, active within the community, and going to more meetups. And I don't exactly know what I'm saying about this, but I'd just like to say, like, um, the core meetings are definitely important, and I feel like it's where we kind of get all of our planning done, all of our thinking, and all of our ideas kind of out, and it's just a nice open environment where we all can kind of come together and share with one another. What I think is really special and important for the group as a whole. But I think it is definitely important kind of trying to get more participation in those type of meetings and our Wednesday meetups, and kind of finding rules for all of our community members and trying to allow people kind of bring their voice to the table when they want, and kind of an open way to do that too. So it's super easy for people just to hop in and help out. Bruno, I think, has something to say too.
Yeah, no, I was gonna say something, but you inspired me to. I wasn't sure how I was gonna phrase it, but you inspired me, Cole. So yeah, I was just thinking, kind of, yeah, there definitely needs to be like an easier point of entry, I guess, and I think that's something that everyone here is kind of aware of already. But I guess going back to what Grace was saying, potentially people don't need to be at certain meetings, but potentially they'd want to be in other meetings, right? But it's a question of kind of getting their comments on things, and I don't know what the right platform for this is, if it is Telegram, if it is Discord, or if it's like Dwork or something like this, where people can kind of engage in exactly what they want to, right? So maybe these general meetings, they don't appeal to everyone who's coming in, right? Because they're kind of so broad, and there's no really specific topics that they can kind of understand and they can like latch onto. But if they had like maybe a more focused meeting on a topic that really made sense to them, where they can maybe share their project, for example, we have those during the funding rounds where people will come in and share their project for like the Impact Fest and stuff. Those are very, like, they have a very clear goal and a clear mission. So people go to those for something. They go to learn about projects, or they go to share their project. So it's a bit more focused. And whereas these are a bit more general, and they're like planning and looking into the future and into the past, like they're doing a lot of different things, right? So I guess my main point being, like Cole said, having a place where people can go to and say, you know, I want to help out with these meetings, or I want to participate in these sessions, or, you know, all of these aspects of C4C, you know, what appeals to you, right? And that's where people need to go and see what appeals to them, right? And I don't think that we have that at the moment. And we kind of just find things ad hoc, right? Like I learned about the impact generators thing just through chatting and through some of these meetings and stuff. So, but that's like a really cool thing that potentially, if people just knew about when they came to C4C, they'd be like really interested in just joining that and being a part of that ecosystem of itself. And yeah, it's kind of like branching out into the different vertents of C4C, right? But yeah, I'd just love to us have something like that, some central database of all our activities, I guess.
TP.
Hey, it's great to see everyone. Sorry my camera isn't on, but Happy New Year. It's awesome to see your faces. I missed your face, missed you guys, so great to be here. Hope you had an awesome holiday. To follow on what everyone is saying, because some really great points being brought up, and it's a really interesting discussion. It's interesting enough, because I was thinking about this the other day, because I think towards the end of last year, we had a discussion on not burning yourself out, not taking too much on, not spreading yourself too thin, because, inevitably you're not going to be able to do your best work if you do that. So it's looking at ways in which you can prioritize your workload and really focus in and refine on what you want to do and where your speciality is, and, what you want to hone in on specifically. And then I thought about the projects that I'm interested in and involved in and participating in the Cardano space. And I thought to myself, well, there's two questions which I want to reflect on for all of these organizations. Is one, what do they do? What is the specific, can I say in a sentence or two what this organization or committee does, what its goals and objectives are, why they're meeting, what they're working towards, etc. And then my second question would be why are they doing that? It's what are the I guess the motivation for people coming together and joining as a decentralized community. And I couldn't really answer that for C4C. The reason being is because the Lausanne summit was amazing, really amazing. It was, bravo to everyone that was involved and helped with that, because it was an absolute pleasure to watch and to learn as well, and to have something tangible which we can share with people and saying, look, this is what's being developed on Cardano. This is what's being developed in the impact side of things. You know, really exciting times ahead. And it's one of the ways which we can introduce people into the blockchain in particular. But beyond that, it gets a little bit murky. And the reason why I say that is because if you look at like CNC, for example, Climate Neutral Cardano, they are an ISPO. They will always be an ISPO. They're a collection of SPOs that are looking to fund a project in Madagascar to plant trees. And so anyone entering into that community, into those Zoom meetings, into the Discord, know exactly why they're there and what the organization goals are. And no matter where you come in terms of that timeline, you know that you can slot into it, right? Well, we're X, Y, and Z into the project. We've raised X amount of money. How can I contribute to push it over to get to the line? But with C4C, it seems like it's a network of like-minded individuals doing some great thinking and some wonderful cross-pollination. But its objective is still, I think, could be better, if not refined or better communicated, in order for people to understand their place within the community and better serve the community in that regard.
Before Yoram speaks, because I want to hear more from, if there's any more from the group that are not in the leadership group, before I hear back from the leadership, because this has been really rich, useful stuff. I'm taking notes. Anybody else who's been involved want to speak a bit about their experience with these meetings, what it's been for them? That was incredibly, TP was incredibly insightful about that. Okay, if nobody else wants to speak, and Yoram, did you want to say something, lady? Great.
First of all, Happy New Year, everyone. And I'm happy to be here. I think I've participated in a couple of sessions, and it was interesting from the networking point of view for me to meet some new people and somehow mingle with like-minded people. I got some ideas that was really interesting for me. So from networking side, I think this group is really amazing because it has brought, for me at least, new things, innovative things to the table, which I really appreciate. To be honest, this is the first network that I have seen in a couple of years that is really valuable to attend. And on the other hand, I would also like to mention two of our friends that talked about some specific topics. I think that's a good idea, because if we have some kind of agenda every week, so we can a bit prepare for that, or at least expect what we are receiving in the session, then we have a better idea how to prepare, what to share more specifically, and how we can actually leave the meeting with what kind of information. And honestly talking, I have been thinking about applying for funds, because we are a team of 2 working on my transparency platform, and I couldn't really figure out. I started filling out the form for a funding application, but I couldn't figure out how I could really increase my chances of getting through, and I have not yet submitted that. So it's a bit vague for me. I have received some links, but honestly, it was a bit too time consuming to get all the details, and it was not very much well organized and to the point. So I needed to spend some time to look into what I needed to prepare, and what is this kind of community working for. And somehow I think we need more organized information, so people know where they are and how they can contribute, and we can get more out of this amazing network, in my opinion. Thank you so much.
Cool. That's excellent. Anyone else want to speak up before we go to Yoram, or anybody else, or before I sort of summarize what we're hearing?
Maybe you could summarize just for Afia, who just joined in. That'd be great.
Oh, I don't want to summarize for Afia, but I do want to tell her where we are. We're discussing, like, who should be in the room in discussing the strategy for the next year, and why maybe they aren't in the room, and what is the relationship of the group of people who are the leaders, we can call it, for like Melanie, Yoram, Newman, and Nori, for the sake of argument, and the rest of the people who are the participants. I'm going to call them participants, not followers, because I don't think anybody here is a follower. I think we're participants. And so what's the relationship between the leadership and the participants, and what are the things that bring us to the room? So it's just kind of getting kind of a sense of where we are right now before we go into, like, what's the future. So if anybody else wants to speak about that before I kind of do a summary, that'd be great. It'll also be great if you don't want to speak up, but I'm just giving the opportunity for anyone to speak up. Like, greatness will just happen independent of who speaks. Okay, so cool. So I'm hearing some really great stuff, and I'm hearing some gaps. The great stuff is that this group, and this has been my sense as well, is this group creates a sense of safety and love and support, which is incredibly rare in the crypto space. It's not just about getting things done, it's about support and the energy in this group. And it's a strength, right? And the gap there is everybody's really nice. And so there isn't necessarily like, look, we're not just going to sit here and listen to project after project and not do anything. It's like, no, we will sit here and listen to project after project and not get anything done because we're nice. So that's like the good and the bad of being nice, right? There is, again, this parental like kind of feeling, right? Like people said, we want to find out how we can help. I remember when I got married, and it was like, does your husband help with the kids? I'm like, no, he shares the responsibility. You're not like, but when somebody uses that word, I know that they don't feel like a leader. They feel like they're helping the leaders, right? And there is a trust. There's tremendous trust in this group that you guys are going to hold the space, that you guys are going to hold these things, that you're going to be willing and able to help and bring in resources, which is what you've been doing, right? You brought in resources. When you decide to execute, you execute in a superb manner. What happened in Busan was just superb. And you brought in, myself to coach. And it's just like amazing. It's amazing to go to a community for the first time and be like, I know all these people. It was ultra cool. But there isn't really a focus, and the community I don't think the community is in position to come together on a focus. It's just too early, but they will go with what you're doing. And the good news about that is you get, like as the leaders, you kind of get to say what you want. The bad news will be that when you say that, there'll be some people who leave and there'll be other people who come. The really good news is that you guys are absolutely excellent at bringing new people. So if you put down your feet and you say, look, this is what we're doing in 2023. This is the strategy. A lot of the people here will stay because you're awesome. Some people will leave, and you will be able to bring in better people because that's what you're good at. Like, you're good at bringing in people and making it really awesome to be together. And so that's sort of where I see this, and TP basically said it. She's like, it's a group, it's nice, but it's not clear what you're up to. And And that's great. With a clean slate, you could create anything, right? And we have a weekly meeting to do that. I wouldn't necessarily put that on this group. It's too wide a group of like who has to be in the room. And then the other thing that came up is that, and I've hinted to this at this with you guys, but there is a bit of a pathology of meetingitis. You know, you have a lot more meetings per week than you need, given the amount of achievement that there is. And so, and I love the way that you've like put it together like it's an agile organization, but it's causing more burden on you guys than is necessary. And it's causing the meetings to have less focus. It's like, oh, well, we got 5 meetings a week. Which one are we going to go to? And, you know, so that's my kind of assessment of what people said here, right? Like, it's not my personal assessment. It's just like distilling what people said. If people feel like I didn't understand what they said or they'd like to argue with that, anyone could do that, not necessarily the leadership, but like, you know, if I got Cole wrong or TP wrong or something, yeah, let me know. But yeah, go ahead.
Let me jump in. So first of all, thank you for the summary and everyone participating, and everyone here is important. And we are nice people. I think we want, and we are welcoming, and we want to welcome and kind of bring different mindset. But I think we need also to a little bit look about the history and what happened in the last 15 months, right, or 18 months, and where we are here and then where we are going. So it started of, okay, I mean, for Melanie, you know, taking the torch and saying, let's create an impact challenge, and some of us joined, and we say, we did, we say, what do? We continue, and we started to continue and create this great community and meet and discuss. And then in 2022, we kind of took everything in, right? And kind of someone said, okay, let's do that. And we were working around the clock, very organized way, around the catalyst cycles, which were every 3 months. So there was a kind of a weekly thing that is related to the catalyst. Within that is, you know, the key objective was, and it was crazy, it was nuts. I mean, the process and but it's related to the catalyst, and the objective was, yeah, bring and help as many impact-related projects get funded in order to bring more impact-related uses to the blockchain, in order to make the blockchain more impact-driven. That's really the mindset. And more leaders we bring, and companies we bring, and projects bring that are impact-driven get funded, we are achieving our objective. So a lot was around these cycles. It was very, very, I think, it was focused because it was connected to the cycles. It was easier to focus kind of the cycles. And then in Fund 9, by the way, my assumption is that the impact kind of community became too strong. And this kind of created then the conflict with the infrastructure community or whatever happened. And then Fund 9 created some kind of imbalance in the funding. And then we said, okay. And then there was delay, obviously, in Fund 10, right? Fund 10 was supposed to be probably in November. And here we are, might have it in February or March, right? So there's all the gap in the terms of funding. And it started to say, okay, so what's the next level? And I think it's quite positive, actually, because we ask ourselves, what's the next level that we want to achieve and what's the purpose of what we're doing, not being dependent only on Catalyst. Kind of it opened finally after 1 year of working together and building trust and building great people. So what can we do, right, together? And it started a set of discussions and brainstorming and confusion and not being that organized 100%. I mean, and kind of doing a lot of things, but with a lot of thinking. Okay, what can we do? And yeah, what can we do? And what's the purpose of what we are doing? And with the objective that we have, not being dependent only on Catalyst. And I think that's something that we definitely need to discuss also. This week, I mean, I have ideas, some people have ideas, and there is ways forward. And it's not being against Catalyst, we'll still be part of Catalyst, right? And we'll still participate in Catalyst, but not be dependent on Catalyst, right? And that's kind of a new mindset, and there are many opportunities. I mean, we became, because of the, if you want, persistent and the time we've been and the impact that we saw in the summit, we created some very good relationship with IOG, with Cardano Foundation, with Imargo, right? And within the different communities of the communities, Afia is here, obviously. Juanita is working a lot with them. LATAM, hola Juanita, with the LATAM community and Spanish, and so, and obviously Sebastian is here from Imargo. So we created a lot of kind of synergies also with other community, which give us also other opportunities. So that's kind of just wanted to bring us where we are. So I agree the last 3 months or 4 months where TP became very active and Grace come also and being part of that, it was really transition part in terms of the year. It was the end of the year, which was very different than the first 9 months of the year, if you want, which were nuts. I mean, we were really working around the clock and it was crazy. And now, yeah, so that's, I just wanted to, if it makes sense, the history and all the things you mentioned about, you know, that you are nice and focus and trust. I think we need, the key for me is that we redefine the purpose of why we are here and who were there to this purpose, right? And then according to that, define also the activities which we are doing, which I have in mind, but I want to do it also with the participation of other people, feedback, which is very helpful.
So
that makes sense? Yeah.
yes. So the first thing I want to do, and I guess you weren't here last week, is complete the past, like complete that. So what, is there anything that needs to be said so that that chapter is complete? Because I know that we did several retro sections. We acknowledged the good things that happened. We acknowledged the things we'd like to be better. But here we are repeating it. And so when there's a repetition of communication, you can see that with your kids too. Like if you say, they say something, you don't listen, they say it louder. Like when I hear repetition, it feels that there's either something underneath that hasn't been said or some way in which you feel you haven't been heard. And so to make sure that this is complete and the past is in the past and we can start the new year, is there anything else that needs to be heard, acknowledged, and said? I'm hearing something, like I hear a noise. I'm not just asking that.
Yeah, I'm trying to think again if you can think about the question. I mean, is it for, if it was a question for me or a question for everyone, or what's the specific question?
First of all, for sure for everyone. Is there anything that needs to be said that hasn't been said or needs to be heard? Sebastian, go ahead.
Thanks. Hi, everybody. I think the infrastructure and the developing world of Cardano needs an exit to the real world. And I think C4C working group is the place in which the real world enters and starts a kind of relation with the Cardano blockchain. My if I can say, my most important idea in my mind is how we as blockchain in general, and C4C specifically, we can bring the real world to the Cardano blockchain, and that's an idea that is in the whole blockchain of Cardano, in the whole Cardano blockchain, because in the past year and currently I have relations with not only with the impacts working group. Also, I have relations with technical and the group of developers in general. And I think sometimes that developers are far from the real world. And I think in sometimes I feel that they don't want the contact with the real world. That was the result of this, the results of, that's the consequence of the past fund, that the working groups related to the impact issues don't receive the funds. Because I think the developer world of Cardano is insist in a kind of separation from the real world. That's the reason why I'm here, because I feel that the real bridge between the world and the problems, the real problems, the capacities and the skills of and the Cardano as technology is right here. This is the point. And well, okay, that's my reason. My reasoning in this. Thanks.
So this is really beautiful. It's really what's there, right? One of the things that Sebastian is saying and Yoram is saying, but you're not saying explicitly, that's not complete, is those bastards don't appreciate us. They ended up funding a bunch of techie crap instead of the real world. They're not caring about the environment as much as they want, and we're kind of frustrated and pissed off about it. Is that there for some of you people?
No, I think it's the developers don't know.
Everyone. Some people. Juanita says it's there for everyone. Melanie's nodding. Let's just let's acknowledge that our brain doesn't talk very politely. Like yes, out of our mouth we say nice things, but
yes, no problem. I think that the thing is developers yet don't know how to be in contact with the real world. They are
just as insulting as what I said.
No, that's fine. That's fine.
No, it's okay. I just want us to get it out, right? Because if we don't say it in like a nasty way, like developers out of touch with reality is what you're saying. If we say it in a nasty way, it's like off our chest. I want it off everybody's chest at the end of this, right? We got 15 minutes to get it off of our chest. So go ahead, say it however you want to say it, but I want you to be like, get it off your chest so we don't have to say it again.
No, I have to be clear. I have to be clear one point. I think I know developers, many developers on the Cardano blockchain, and like us, they are looking for a way to be in contact with the world, but they don't. They are trying. They are trying to find a way. But I think that this working group, the C4C, this working group is in a more close contact with the problems of the real world. So maybe we, as C4C, can offer a better answer to the developers, and we can work together, developers and non-developers, developers and we as working group. We can work together in that point. But developers are great people and great heart, great soul. Okay, that's all.
Perfect. And we all see that, right? Like we see that, and it's not always easy to get the other side to see that, and that can cause frustration. And that's
I think Go ahead, it's a very, very good point. It's a very, very good point. And I mean, one of the things we try to prove, I mean, that, you know, what we're speaking with C4C, there's no conflict with developers, the opposite. I mean, we build a lot of applications, right? Blockchain, this conflict that was between infrastructure and purpose in Fund 9 and 8, that was very frustrating, definitely. And because there is conflict. Why we build a technology? We build a technology for a purpose, right? Not just build technology. So this somehow there's kind of education or things that we need to do better to explain that what we do can actually create huge business opportunities while making good, right? Disrupting all these industries that doesn't work good through technology. So yeah, I mean, that's definitely a key the element.
The other point I want to do too is, we recorded this, right? And it's like, if you take your comment, developers, those bastards don't understand us. You take that, it's a trigger, right? And then what happens in a non-collaborative way is that triggers somebody and they don't hear anything else. So I'm cautious about what I say, not to, and maybe that's good or bad, I don't know. Maybe it gets me nowhere, but I'm cautious not to close that door, because that's not what I believe. I don't believe it's the whole group. I believe it's a miscommunication, a lack of collaboration, misinformation, whatever it might be. Again, it's what I started with at the beginning. There was a change in behavior, and I asked the question, what's that all about? What's deep inside of that? So
I just
yeah.
want to back up and say, right, it's not that we all think that about developers. It's that a part of us thinks that. And a part of the developers will look at it and be like, those airy-fairy, tree-hugging hippies. Why should we listen to the air? And if we don't admit that that's there with us, we keep repeating things. And we don't go forward. We keep repeating the long story about how Cardano fund this and Cardano fund that, and they changed their direction, and we keep but if you get it out, I'm really frustrated. We worked so hard. The other thing is, people worked really hard for not enough money here, with the expectation that the next fund that came around, there would be more money, and there wasn't. And when you invest in something, it doesn't pay off. It's painful. It's upsetting. And that happened. And in order to go forward, you have to let go of the past. And some people are like, there's other opportunities. It's not just Cardano. And some people here are like, look, Cardano, we just need to talk to them differently. And all of that is good as long as we leave the past in the past. And that's the first thing to really get. So the first thing is to say the truth. We're frustrated about this. The organizing team worked really hard and really wasn't appreciated enough financially. And we all love them, and we can give them as many compliments as we want, but they'll never get that time back, right? You guys will never get those hours back. And nothing can give you those hours back. And we're sorry that it turned out that way. None of us could have predicted that the Cardano fund was going to go like that. And, it hurts. We have to leave that in our past in order to go forward. And it's not just Cardano and it's not just developers, but it really is. There is a conflict in the world right now, and even within us. How do we make money and do good in the world? How do we make money and do good in the world? How do we do what really inspires us and do good in the world? And it's like this ongoing, it's there. It's always there in the background. We have to live with it. So I'm going to tell you how you get things complete in the past. You declare it complete. You just say, that's complete. These frustrations are complete. The story is complete. If there's anything else that has to be said, now is the time to say it. And then we will all declare the past complete. Newman's declaring the past complete.
So I have a little bit of a struggle with that, because I'm a slow processor, and I'll think about stuff. You tell me this is the deadline, has to happen now, and sure as heck, in about 2 hours from now, there'll be something else that comes up. So how do we deal with that?
I promise if anything gets I promise if anything comes up, I will call one of the people in the Telegram group and I will get it complete. Mm-hmm. And it might be something, you don't want to record and it's private, and it's like, this guy said they were going to submit this thing on time and I ended up writing it for them, and I just need to say it. And I just need you to listen to me. Okay, listen. Is that complete? Yes, it's complete.
Yeah, so one thing I will add just before to be complete is, no, I mean, the way we try to approach that is we try to show that being impactful, sustainable is an opportunity for Cardano. Right? That's kind of the way we try to approach that. And that was kind of the subject of the summit, right? Of the meeting at the summit. So impact project as an opportunity for Cardano. And I think that's the message. I mean, I you know, definitely, my personal belief, there is money there, it's just not going to the right places. Okay, today. So I mean, we can be impactful and sustainable and respectful and everything and make a living out of that. That's my belief. And we need to show this opportunity to Cardano. I mean, Cardano can disrupt technology with the work on the ground, can disrupt agricultural supply chain, can disrupt certification, can disrupt carbon market, all of this energy market, what Bruno is doing with Empower, right? The housing market in developing countries. It can create business opportunity by doing the right thing. So that's at least the approach that we try to adopt here.
Okay, did it fail or did it succeed, Yoram? Because you're repeating like the pitch again. Did it fail or did it succeed?
I mean, it's not one day, right? I mean, many things we succeeded. I mean, we still got many projects funded, right, during 2022, including the problematic funds, right? What we call them 8 and 9. So lots of projects, good projects still got funded. And we still got a lot of collaboration happening between us and you know, with IOG, with Imargo, with CF. So it's a process, right? And CF, I think, really aligned with us, by the way. I mean, I think they did incredible, yeah. And Imargo, both of them did an incredible job in the summit. And so, thanks to Sebastian who connected me and talked with, you know, the Imargo teams. And so I think there's a lot of potential there to show them.
Yoram, we're trying to complete last year and you're going around in circles. What are you not saying, or who are you trying to convince?
No,
we're all in this meeting. I promise you,
turn
we
off
all believe.
Turn off
That's
the
why we're
recording.
here.
Turn off the recording. Yoram has something to say outside of the recording. I want the recording turned off so that Yoram can say what he really wants to say. Get it off your chest, man.
To say.
You can do it.
Good. We are here because we believe in this vision. Nobody's in this room, especially not at this point in the meeting, if they don't believe in the vision. We believe in the vision, and we just want to start the new year new. We got what we got. We got some great results. We got some disappointing results. Those are our results. And this is for everybody. Like, we've all looked at our last year, right? And looked at some disappointing results and some good results. And we all want, like, this is a skill you can take to your business or your personal, like, here's what I need to say to start the new year really fresh.
I guess the scary bit is, like, what are you letting go of? You know, are you letting go of the good stuff? And that's the thing that you want to keep looking at the past to reflect on, is like, yeah, there was struggles, there was issues, but this is the good stuff that keeps coming up. And that's what I hear Yoram saying and repeating over and over again. I'm not about to let go of that, because that's what keeps me coming back for more. So it's like, what are you asking of us? That's the scary bit, is like, are you asking us to wipe that board off, everything that we've ever done, and move forward? It's a little scary to figure out what exactly it is that you're asking us to do.
So being complete just means we are whole and complete where we are right now. It's like, what I got. It's like when you buy a stock, right? It went up or down. And where it is right now is where it is. And you might be like, but I was hoping it would go back to that price. It's not, either will or it won't. But you can't hold the stock thinking maybe it'll go back to that price. It's like, okay, the stock is now worth 10. I lost 5. Right now I lost 5. It's not like I only lost 5 until it goes back up. It's like, no, I lost 5. And it's not denying the past. It's not, It's just like, oh, look, here I am. Where I am now is here. And I'm not like, it's not trapped in me like, I got to make up that gap. I got to make up that gap. I'm starting at -5. No, I want everybody to start at 0. That doesn't mean the past didn't happen, that we can't look at our successes, or that we can't look at our failures. It's just like, we're not trying to fix something. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, for me, it's close. I mean, for me, I mean, I'm not, when I'm repeating myself, it's first of all things that I believe, right? And I might be kind of mantra and so on, but no, for me, it's really, I'm already in 2023. I mean, to think, okay, what can we do together? I mean, so yeah. So there's nothing for, I mean, for me, what happened. I mean, already after Fund 9, we took it out, we decided, okay, what do we do, right? And it's all, the process is already happening for some time. So I don't think we're quiet about that.
I think Joram is making reference to the seats that C4C plans in the last year. Maybe those seats can generate really good results in the year. And I think that's the message, Joram's message.
Yeah, and what's amazing is the resilience, right? Again, we are here 15, 16 months after. We didn't, yeah, you tried. We didn't make a lot of money out of that, right? We did a lot of other things, a lot of amazing things, and we are still here, right? And talking about the plans for 2023.
Yeah.
So,
and I read your plan for 2022, and you accomplished everything that you said you would accomplish. Like, we're starting 2023 having accomplished everything that you wrote down you wanted to accomplish. So that's another thing to really get. You're the kind of people that you write a plan and you execute a plan. So we can think big, because I read that plan, and everything in it you accomplished and more. Everything. So it's an amazing group, and and the past is the past. And so what I think is the right thing to do is for the organizing group to really decide what they want. And I think several people suggested here to get more focused in what each meeting is about. And maybe we don't need as many as there are, and set up the agenda in advance. And maybe we have a planning meeting on like Tuesday for the Wednesday meeting. Maybe it needs to be 2 weeks in advance, so that there's a little bit more planning. And then really get to the bottom of what do you guys want to accomplish in this year.
I think that's very, very good point. Yeah, very, very good point. Melanie, you have the link to the plan. I was trying to look for that, what we started to write for 2023.
I do.
Because I was looking for that in the folders and so on.
And just as we say all these things that we're going to do, just remember somebody has to do them.
Yeah.
Right? Somebody has to do the organizing, the scheduling, the Zooms, and all that stuff. So, any changes that get to be made need to be made. Is that the strategic plan for 2023?
Yeah, and I think this is a very important point, because one of the things we did in last year, and it was quite successful, is that we invite everyone to join to the working group, as we call it. So
okay,
everyone can join the working group.
I just don't want to go through this again, right? Like, we're at the top of the hour, okay? We're at the top of the hour,
okay.
And it's like you've already pulled us in, and this is it. Like, you've pulled yourself into next year and started writing documents about what you want to accomplish without, as Melanie is putting, without thinking about what are the resources that we need to do it. And so let's do that process together in the smaller meetings, in the smaller forums. And it'll take a couple weeks. I don't think it's the right thing to expect from this group. And so then there's a question: what should we do in the weekly meetings, or do we want to pause until the end of January with these meetings as well, because the organizing committee has to organize that, and that would be fine. And you guys could decide that and announce it on the group. And then anybody who wants to come to the organizing committee meeting will come and be like, you know what, that's where that's happening.
Yeah, so turn these back into more of a general meetup.
I don't know why you need it.
Yeah. Well, we've had this one this whole time, every
We
Wednesday.
always did it this way. That's
Yeah,
a
we
good
always
reason.
did it this way. We're in the rut, Grace. This
We
is the
always-
way we've always done it. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
yeah, let's look at that and figure out what that looks like. There's also this, you know, in the meetup, we're saying that we're working on these things through January and we'll have our goals set by.
Yeah.
So maybe there's just a little component that we do in these meetups, and switch that up a little bit and just say, okay, the people that need to help steer, because, you know, even when Cole started talking, it's like, what the heck? He's one of the leaders.
Well, then he should
Bruno.
come to the Tuesday meeting.
Exactly.
Like,
So,
seriously, that's fine.
I
We
know,
don't have to
but
have 2 meetings, then it's just one.
TP starts talking and it's like, oh, that's one
Then
of our
she can
leaders.
come
What are
to
you
the
talking
meetings.
about? Right? Bruno, Juanita, Sebastian, you know, Afia as well, a quiet leader. But, you know, these I feel like are leaders and, you know, help do our direction.
So it's time to not separate these 2 meetings because that was a random separation, right? Like, these 2 meetings don't need to be 2 meetings. They're 1 meeting.
Well, we'll figure it out for sure.
All right.
And, thank you, Grace. Thank you for doing this. Thank you for asking
Thank you very
the
much,
hard
Grace.
questions, because it's definitely, you know, not an easy
No,
thing.
thank you very much. And what I wanted to mention again about the working group is that, yeah, that through the year, Cole join and Tippy join and Sebastian and Bruno, right? Everyone is welcome to join and also participate in that, but definitely. But thank you for that. Grace, for leading
Another
that.
thing that now you're going to think for another 24 hours, Yoram. What are we going to do? All right, guys, I got to get to yoga, and we all
Okay.
got to run off to our things.
So next meetup we'll check the description for the meetup.
Yeah.
You know, and we'll figure out what goes on there. I'm going to shut off the recording. Thank you all
Thank
for
you.
coming.